Hi everybody, this is your instructional video to go with your notes titled Number Lines. And number lines are pretty amazing things. They tell us so much. So don't discount number lines. I draw number lines on my paper or my whiteboard a lot of times when I want to prove a point. So you might be able to do that too. So let's start by saying that numbers decrease. Means they go down as you move left. So starting at 0, as you move left, the numbers are going to get smaller. -1, -2, -3. That means -4 is even smaller. -5 is even smaller, and so on. Numbers increase as they go to the right. So let's start at 0 again. We're going to go to the right 1. They're going to increase 2, 3, 4. Notice that that's an opposite relationship. When you're moving right, you're adding 1. When you're moving left, you're subtracting 1. Okay, so make sure to realize that's what's happening. And also you can use these little arrows at the end. They tell you that the numbers go on forever, but it's also a hint that this symbol means less than and this symbol means greater than. Okay? The next thing we want to look at, it says we can use a number line to show the approximate location of different types of numbers. So the first thing we want to talk about is, what does approximate mean? It can mean a lot of things. It could mean an estimate. If you don't know the exact number, but you can get pretty close, you can call that an estimate. You could say someone is about 13. You would know they're somewhere in there, but not really exactly sure. You could say it is close to 14 apples in a basket when you don't have time or can't see them all and you're just approximating. So that's what the word approximate means. It means approximately or get close to. Now, what are all the different ways that we can represent a number? There are so many. Okay, numbers can be represented as fractions. They can be represented as decimals. They can be represented as percentages. They can be represented in scientific notation. Check my spelling on this. I think I'm good. And they can be represented in absolute value. And finally, they could also be represented as square roots. And we're going to talk about all these just quickly. Okay, so again, numbers can be represented as fractions, decimals, percentages, scientific notation, absolute value, square roots, or just as digits. Now, this says convert. The word convert means change. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and draw something up here at the top. It is a triangle, and triangles mean change. So as we go through the year, we will use that a lot. So convert means change, which is also shorthand of a triangle. So it says convert each to a decimal. So we want to go to a decimal. Whenever something asks you to go to a decimal, you are definitely going to use decimals. Trust us on that one. So the first thing I'm going to do is come over here and I'm going to type in negative square root of 3, and that gives me negative 1.73. Okay, so I'm going to write negative 1.73 and so on. I'm going to go ahead and put 3 dots there just so you can understand that those decimals keep on going. They are not stopping anywhere. Okay, so let's go on to our next one. which is negative 4.2. The calculator isn't having to do anything here. That's why it's not giving you an answer over here. So to make it calculate, I'm going to multiply times 1, because you know when you multiply anything times 1, it stays the same, or it's equal to itself. So negative 4.2 times 1 is negative 4.2. Okay. Now this next one's a little bit trickier. Oops, sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. The next one's a little bit trickier. Okay. We are going to put in 225%. To make a percent into a decimal, you have to divide by 100. So that gives us oops, it's wanting me to type. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It might be easier. So that gives us 2.25%. So 2.25, excuse me, that is a decimal, not a percent. All right, so now I'm going to come over here. All right, and get that ready to go. So this is scientific notation. So we're going to go ahead and put that in and see if we can make it into a decimal, which is 3 times 10. And that is raised to the negative 1 power. And that decimal is 0.3. Oh, sorry, I did not mean to put that there. Let me come back over here. It is 0.3. You do not have to type the 0 or write the 0 if you don't want to. It is just holding a place value there. That means there are no ones. It is only 3/10. Okay, so let's get back over here, and again, a fraction, you just put it in your calculator, and that gives you 4.5. So let me go ahead and type that here, 4.5, and that is your decimal. And then we're going to have another one down here, sort of like when we typed in the negative 4.2, but I'm going to show you. If you type in a mixed number, you want to put in the digit first, space, then put in the fraction. That's the first thing you want to do. But as you notice, there's still no calculation. So multiply times 1, because that makes it itself, which gives you a decimal of 3.125. So let's go ahead and type that in here, 3.125. All right, so now it wants us to place a circle right down here on this number line for each of these. So we're going to have A, B, C, D, E, and F. So let me see if I can move over to my stylus, and I hope I can. We'll see. So for A, I've got a negative 1.73. Well, negative 1 is here. And to get the 0.73, I'm going to have to go toward the negative 2. So I would say right here, nope, it's definitely not going to let me go back to the stylus. Let me see if I can make it work here. All right, I think I got it now. So negative 1.73 would be just about there. And that would be A. Negative 1.73. Now let's take a look at B. That says negative 4.2. So that's only slightly past the negative 4, but it's getting closer to the 5, so let's put that there. And that is negative 4.2, and that is value B. C is 2.25. So let's come to the 2 and a little bit further, and that will give us the place on the number line for 2.25. And then D is 0.3, which is going to be right about there. Okay. E is 4.5. 0.5 is halfway to 5. So let's go ahead and label that E. And then F. 3 1/8 is equal to, as a decimal, to 3.125. So that's going to be right in here. Okay. Now, something that I need you to remember is if you're working with a number line, your numbers have to be decimals, okay? Unless the number line has percentages on it, which doesn't happen very often. But if it has percentages down below the number line, you can make them or keep them percentages. But otherwise, when you've got a number line, remember, change things to a decimal. And how do you do that? Using your calculator. The only ones that I think were a little bit interesting here were the negative 4.2. You multiplied times 1 so that the calculator had something to do, which is make it look like itself. And the 3 space 1 over 8 times 1, again, made it look like itself. And then that percentage, the 225%. Remember, to make a percent a decimal, you just multiply it by 100. That's all you've got to do. Okay, let's go on to the next page. This one says, after placing the number on a number line, they are in ascending order, okay, which means least to greatest, all right? So ascending means least to greatest, and there's a couple of ways to remember this, and I'll show you in a second. And descending means greatest to least, okay? Ascending, I like to make it look like an arrow, and I just put little dots here to make it an A, and that is going up. So that means you're starting with small and you're going up to big. Ascending, that's how I remember that, okay? And then descending means you're going down, okay? So a lot of times you can use those little things to remember. If you ascend stairs, you're going from the bottom to the top. You're getting from small to big. If you're descending, your numbers are going down. They started at the biggest one up here, and then they went down to the smallest one, okay? So those are little ways that you can remember that. All right, just remember, number lines are very important.